Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bootleg presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. I'm your host, Tom Kreager, high school sports editor at the Tennessean. We've got another treat for you tonight for this week's edition of the Bootleg. We are in the quarterfinals in Division One and the semifinals in Division Two. I brought all my friends from across the state to talk about all the games in the state that matter for us. The top games we'll be covering and more. And I'm going to be brought in now by the rest of Team Tennessee, as I like to call it, from across the state. We'll be joined now. Hey, that's everyone. Hey, everyone, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. We are in the quarterfinals in Division One. In Division Two, we're in the semifinals. Of course, next week the Division Two teams will have a week off, and then they'll play Thursday, the 4th, I believe, of December, down in Chattanooga in their Division Two championship games. Starting right off, we're going to start right at the back, looking at where the games that we're going to be at this week. We're going to start with Cecil Joyce. Where will you be at? And tell me a little bit about your game.
I will be in Lebanon watching Oakland and Lebanon play in the 6A quarterfinals. Should be a good game. After watching Lebanon beat Riverdale last week, I think it's going to be a pretty good scrap.
And I mean, obviously, the winner probably gets the right to play Maryville in Maryville. So, interesting game there. And what did you learn about Lebanon the 1 week you saw them, Cecil?
They're athletic. They're big up front. They are definitely opportunistic. Every time Riverdale made a mistake, Lebanon made them pay for it. Good defense. As you can see by looking at just their scores, they have a good defense. But they showed that the other night. They pinned Riverdale deep in their own territory 2 or 3 times, and that helped set up Lebanon scores. Oakland's a different beast. They're going to find that out Friday, but they definitely impressed me. Lebanon did.
Okay. Joe Spears, where will you be at?
I've got the Williamson County 6A battle is Summit host Ravenwood. Kind of a one-sided game last time these two teams played. Destin Wade, I mean, you saw what he did in that game. He almost ran for 300 yards as Summit kind of ran away with it. Summit this year really hasn't been challenged in any game. I do think this is going to be a much closer game, though. I think Chris Parson has this Ravenwood offense kind of ticking right now. They haven't lost a game since that loss to Summit, and playoffs, anything can happen in the playoffs. And I think if a team could get Summit, it maybe could be Ravenwood. They got the pieces, so it should be a really fun battle down there in Spring Hill.
Still have to get about 21 points better than they were a week earlier this season. So that's going to be the thing. What can Ravenwood do to improve on that? Gerard Hamilton at the Jackson Sun. Gerard, where will you be at tonight or Friday night?
I'll be going to MAHS at Westview. So a battle of 2 top 15 prospects in the state, and Cameron Miller and Ty Simpson. Interesting battle considering like MAHS, they're a good run defense. They held Huntingdon to only 7 points. Their bread and butter is Cade Wood and Aiden Hutcherson, who both have over 1,400 yards. It'll be interesting to see, with Jared Neal and that Westview offense, that spread offense, what they can get accomplished against the pass defense. So that's where I'll be this Friday.
And folks, if you're a college football fan, that's the game to go to. You've got an Alabama commitment in Ty Simpson, 4-star quarterback, and then you got Cam Miller, who's put up a heck of a highlight reel this year at Moz. I think he's a 3-star guy. He's committed to Tennessee. So you got Alabama versus Tennessee, Westview versus Moz. If I need to sell tickets, you guys don't understand how big a meeting this is and how great of a game this could be. A lot of talent on the field for that game. George Robinson, welcome to the Nashville area this week. You'll be covering one of our teams. What you got?
Yeah, everybody in Clarksville's done, so I'm shifting over to Middle Tennessee. So I'll be this Friday. I'll be going to Green Hill where they face Page. Obviously, it's a battle of 2 top 5 Class 5A schools. I think Page is ranked 5 and Green Hill's ranked 2. Page obviously can score a lot of points. I mean, they've scored 34 more points in 5 of their last 6 games, and they're led by their quarterback, senior Jake McNamara. and their running back, Ethan Cunningham, who Ethan Cunningham almost had 100 yards last week in their win against Nolensville. I think McNamara threw around 167 yards in that win. So, but they're, facing probably one of the better kind of feel-good stories in Middle Tennessee this year in Green Hill. It's only their second year in existence, and this is their first time making the playoffs. So, they got their first playoff win a couple of weeks ago. They barely won last week against Columbia, 21-17. But they're definitely, they have one of the better feel-good stories in Middle Tennessee. And obviously their leader has been, Caleb Carver. He's kind of been an all-purpose type of player for them all season, and certainly was that way in their first playoff win a couple of weeks ago. I think he had a 70-yard punt return for a touchdown. I think he had a 60-yard touchdown run and caught a 24-yard touchdown pass in that win. So it's going to be two really, really good teams, and both of these teams, like I said, can score a lot of points. So I may be there for 3 hours. I don't know. We'll see.
You just jinx yourself. Good matchup there. You got Jake McNamara. He's a Mr. Football semifinalist in 5A. He's going to Colorado State. He's the younger brother of Cade McNamara, the starting quarterback at Michigan right now. Of course, Jake started his career, his high school career at Lipscomb Academy, and then transferred, spent the last 2 years at Page, and has fit in well with Coach Rathbone's offense. And finally, let's wrap up. Emily Adams, where are you going to in the Knoxville area?
Yeah, I have a big one this week. I will be at Elizabethton at Greenville. Between the two of them, Elizabethton and Greenville have the last 4A state titles. Elizabethton won in 2020 and 2019. Greenville won 2018 and 2017. This year, this is a rematch for them. They actually played in the regular season, and Greenville handled Elizabethton. Final score was 42-12. But Elizabethton has been on a bit of a tear recently. They beat Anderson County, who I personally think has been underrated all season, 45-7 last week, after they beat them 27-7 in the regular season. So they're hitting their stride, and I think, having seen Greenville once already, they will have learned from that experience, hopefully. But Greenville, I think, is pretty much unstoppable in 4A personally. Players to watch for them: Mason Gudger, their running back, is Mr. Football semifinalist in 4A. He has played very few whole games this year and broke the Greenville school record for scoring in a single season. I think he has 204 points this year. And I don't think he's played a full 4-quarter game more than 2 or 3 times. So he's definitely a big one for them. They also have their quarterback, Brady Quillen, is really strong, and their wide receiver, Jacoby Gillespie, is actually a Belmont basketball commit, but he has recently been fielding offers from D1 football programs as well. I know he had Virginia Tech offer him pretty recently, so he's kind of an interesting case as to whether that Belmont commitment will hold up.
That's an interesting game, and I go back to Greenville handled them pretty handily early in the season, and it's a lot of points you got to come up with. As a coach would say, hey, you get beat 28 points the first time. Say, hey, we got to make up 28 points somehow. So how are we going to make those up? And they got beat pretty badly. So good thing is that was early in the season. Of course, early in the season with what we've endured the last couple of years. I mean, who knows what Elizabethton was facing? That was early in the round when there was a lot of people out with COVID issues. Seems to have kind of gone away since then. But so maybe that was an issue. I don't really know. But could be a very interesting dynamic. And whoever wins that game got to be the favorite to win 4A title, I would think. Sorry, Pearl Cone, Tullahoma, Haywood. That's just kind of how it is. I am staying in town in Nashville Friday night. I will be covering Division II AAA semifinal. I get to see the Dallin Hayden versus Marcel Reed show game. I'm really looking forward to. A couple D2 AAA semifinalists. Of course, I think the 23rd, a week from today, is when they'll announce the the finalists for the award on the Mike Vrabel show. So be staying tuned for that. But it's very you'd like to say it's very contrasting styles. With Marcel Reed being, of course, one of the top quarterbacks in next year's recruiting class, and Dallin Hayden being one of the top running backs this year. And of course, he's going to Ohio State. NBA's defense is going to have to load up on stopping the run. But I do think, as much as we talk about Marcel Reed, they have a pretty strong run game with Rhett Hales running the football for them. He's got, I believe, over 1,000 yards. Marcel Reed's had a really he's a strong leader. I think his stats maybe aren't as dynamic as you would think of a Mr. Football semifinalist and a 4-star quarterback. But all he does is win games, and that's what he does. And they don't really ask him. He's not they don't ask him to throw for 300 and 400 yards like Kenny Minchie at Pope John Paul or William Riddle at Macaulay. He just he manages the offense. They figure out ways in big games, which this is a big game. I expect him to step forward, maybe run the ball a little bit more. He's a warrior. He was hurt and had a bad bruised ribs against Pope. Came back the next week at the last minute and played against Ensworth and played very well. Did not play like he was hurting. And so that's the game I'm at. Of course, I get to see some old friends in Thomas McDaniel, the Christian Brothers coach, who's used to be at Oakland, and Ron Crawford at Brentwood. I will not give anyone my imitation of Ron Crawford. I think everyone's heard it. But Ron and Tommy come back to Middle Tennessee, which will be a great game, and it'll be our game of the week in Nashville, and one of about 3 or 4 games involving the Memphis area teams. Of course, Moz, Gerard Hamilton will be covering that game, as we said earlier. So if you're if you're from Memphis watching us, those are you want to follow Gerard on Twitter, and you want to follow me on Twitter if you want to keep track of those 2 games. With all that said, then next question. Bold predictions. I will go first because I know some people are like, what's a bold prediction? I'm going to go first, and Joe Spears will say, Kreager, that's not a bold prediction. I picked it too. Pearl Cone. And I'm not saying that just because a coach at Pearl Cone may or may not have called me and given me a hard time about picking them to lose last week. I'm all in, 10 toes, 2 feet. I'm all in on the Pearl Cone wagon right now. I'm back on. Sorry, Coach Bernetti, I stepped off. I'm back on. You proved me wrong. You proved me that y'all could do more without Berrien. Of course, I didn't know how healthy you were last week. Good to see Randall Hodge back and the line back. So Pearl Cone's going to win this week and avenge a Tullahoma loss, and they will reach the semifinals, and they will get to host a semifinal game. That's my bold prediction. I know, Joe, it could have been better. Emily Adams, what do you have?
Yeah, my bold prediction. It's a prediction that I didn't take in my top game predictions, but it's a prediction that I'm very on the fence about. I think Rea County may topple Powell this week. I know a lot of us on this call picked Powell to make the final in 5A. I personally did not. Powell looked really, really good last week. I was at their game against McMinn County, and that truly is what's giving me so much pause about making this prediction. But all season I've seen Powell have really, really good games and then have really bad games. And they don't have really bad games often, but I think coming off of a performance like they had last week, that's, where there's room to falter. And Rea County put up 63 points on Carnes. They beat a Deshaun Bishop performance that included 6 total touchdowns and 240 rushing yards. I think they will at least keep it close with Powell. I think in my predictions, I picked Powell to win by a point. I think my final score prediction was 28-27, and I would not be surprised to see that go the other way.
Just remember, Walter Nolan is a very large man. I don't know if I'd pick against Powell. Just kidding. I'm sure he'll take it in stride, but very bold prediction. I see your point. They run, I believe, the wing tee at Rea County, and they do a good job with what they do. George Robinson, what's your bold prediction?
Well, I don't. Maybe this is a bold prediction, but I think it's a bolder prediction considering where I'm gonna go with this selection. But East Nashville, it's more than just East Nashville winning this Friday night. I'm gonna say East Nashville gets all the way to the state championship game in Class 3A. They've been on a roll since the playoffs started. I think they'll beat White House Friday. I think they'll beat Covington next week in the semifinals and get all the way to the state championship game. I wasn't a believer in East Nashville prior to the playoffs, but I've been kind of keeping my eye on them, and they look really, really good. So, like I said, I don't know that that's necessarily a bold prediction for Friday, but maybe it's a little bit bolder prediction for the rest of the playoffs.
The only thing that would have been bolder if you would have said East Nashville is going to end Alcoa's reign in 3A, but we're not crazy, are we? So
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that. No.
Gerard Hamilton, what do you have for a bold prediction for me?
I don't know how much it is bold because it happens all the time. It seems like this season, but I think Westview wins by 2 touchdowns. I think Ty Simpson goes for another 4-touchdown game, and he kind of outshines Cameron Miller in this battle of top 15 prospects. Like I said, not a very big bold predictions. The only thing I can say is I just feel like with the games of the week I have, I think I'm gonna go undefeated. I think all my picks gonna line up this week. That's all I got.
I don't know. I'm picking against your D2 single A team, I think. So interesting picks there.
I do have an update on that on Steele Haynes. So he dressed out last game, but he did not play. His replacement or his backup, Kevin Finch, had a great game. Still had 180 yards, 4 touchdowns. But Coach Stroop did just text me. Steele Haynes will be playing in this coming game this week. He was just nursing an injury last week, but he is available this week.
Okay. Coach Wade, Wildcats, I believe in you. That's all I'm going to say. Joe Spears, what do you have? I know you scrambled because I think Mr. Robinson may have taken yours.
He did. George definitely stole mine.
Sorry, Joe.
No, you're fine. I've seen East Nashville 2 of the last 3 weeks, and the Eagles are as good as anybody in 3A right now.
Not named Alcoa.
Not named Alcoa, exactly. I guess if I'm going to have to go somewhere else, the winner of Page Green Hill wins Class 5A. That's probably a bold one. I know I picked Powell to win 5A. I just think I personally had Page winning this game in a close one. That defense last week against Nolensville had one of its better games this season, shutting them down. Nolensville's played really well the last couple weeks. Got into a defensive slugfest last week. And I think Jake McNamara is as good as any 5A quarterback right now. He's having a heck of a season. He's really rebounded from kind of a up and down junior year to being one of the best quarterbacks in the state this year. So yeah, whoever wins this game, going to go out on a limb and say they beat whoever comes out of the East in the 5A championship.
Joe, I'm not going to lie. I know Emily's picking my what I'm going to say. They're picking them to lose, but I would love to see a quarterback duo go at each other with Jordan Potts at Powell and Jake McNamara. I think that would be, if you like quarterback play, I think Potts will run a little bit more maybe. He scrambles a little more than what McNamara is going to do, but I think we'd have a great quarterback duo between Powell and Page in the championship game if that happened. Not saying it's gonna, but if it does, that would be a game I'd really like to. If I was a fan, I'd pay admission to that one. All right, Cecil, I've given you time. What do you got for a bold prediction?
Well, I don't think there's a lot of bold predictions in this round. There's just a lot of close matchups that could go either way. But I'm going to pull a bizarro world on you. It seems like year in, year out, Henry County is one of the media darlings to get through the postseason. They usually fall somewhere short of expectations. This year, everyone slept on Henry County all through the regular season. Their 5-5 record, justifies that. They're going to beat Springfield, which is not a massive upset. I mean, it was only 6-3 the first time they played, but it is a 1 versus a 2. That is an upset. But I think Henry County is kind of pulling a reversal and getting hot at the right time during the playoffs. 56 points in their first 2 games. I think it's their time to roll. They beat Springfield and give themselves a shot at getting to the Blue Cross Bowl.
I will say this about Henry County, and Cecil, I think you kind of hit on it pretty hard. I think a lot, myself included, a lot of us had a lot of high hopes for Henry County this year. We kind of expected them in the semifinal, kind of figuring out who they're going to play with Beach and Summit now in 6A. And then all of a sudden they started disastrous. I mean, of course they lost to Summit, but I mean, Summit's really good. But then they had some real. I think they were like 1-3 at one point, and maybe something like that. I mean, they had a really sluggish start, and at that point, I'll be honest with you, I wrote them off. And especially after Springfield wins that region, and I'm like, man, I was looking at that 6-3 score is very like, okay, that's a coin flip game. But I think I see your point. I think that is a bold prediction when a team that has played so up and down this season. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think we really thought Joe Spears probably say that we really thought Ryan Damron would probably have a really big throwing season, and it's been, I think, a lot of run game this year with Henry County more than the past game. So. I mean, Damron's had been okay, but I think they flourished more with the run game than they have maybe the passing game. But we thought maybe that might be their secret to success this year. Joe, would you concur there?
Yeah, I mean, Henry County has kind of gone back to Henry County football. Obviously, Ryan Damron's got a huge arm, but during this run they've been on, they've just run all over teams. I know they had a guy score 4 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. Had a guy run for over 200 yards last week too. I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but I'd agree with Cecil. I think I have Springfield winning that game this week, but I think it's close, and I wouldn't be shocked if Henry County won and played for a spot in the 5A championship, honestly.
Okay. Last one, and we're gonna make it. We're approaching Thanksgiving. Yes, we'll have a show next Tuesday, but by that time, I'm gonna be the fallen turkeys and all that good stuff, getting ready for a big night of grilling like a villain. If you don't know, you should know. Favorite Thanksgiving food? We'll start with George. George, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
It's 2 things, and it's not turkey. I know we had that discussion earlier about about baked turkey. Fried turkey, deep fried turkey, that's a different thing. But the traditional baked turkey, it's dry. It's too dry for me. My 2, well, it's a tie between 3 things: stuffing, ham, and sweet potatoes. Those 3 things I gotta have for Thanksgiving. If
George
I don't have
picking everything off the menu, we have nothing left.
Right.
What's
so
your favorite Thanksgiving food? Let's just name the whole menu.
Yeah, I just like Thanksgiving food. I like to eat. So.
Okay. Hey, I don't know what's left, guys. Sorry. I mean, figure it out. Gerard, what you got?
Yeah, I'll take stuffing or dressing or whatever, which one of y'all call it. But Joe, I seen you nod it, and George, you said ham. Those are bad character traits if you like ham. So I can't do it. I got to go with turkey if we was choosing the meats to go with.
So we're going dressing / stuffing, depending on what you like to call it. Joe Spears, no ham for you, please. I know that's what you prefer, but no ham.
Yeah, I'll go with the side dish. I love deviled eggs. I think they're amazing. And I'll give a shout out to somebody here, Milan Raglan, the former D&J editor. Her daughter TK makes some of the best deviled eggs I've ever had in my life. So I will be going down to Murfreesboro at some point here soon to get me some of those. But yeah, deviled eggs for sure.
All right. Cecil Joyce, sorry he just took yours, but what you got?
You should have called me one spot before Joe, because I was not only going to mention deviled eggs, I was going to mention Milan and her daughter making deviled eggs for us. I'm gonna just kind of make it bland. I'm gonna say turkey, but only if it's smoked or deep fried. If it's smoked from Slick Pig in Murfreesboro or Smyrna, it's great. If it's deep fried from anybody, my brother included, It's always great. I'm like George. I'm not big on the oven baked turkey. A little too dry for me. Maybe if you have some really good giblet gravy, maybe. But everything else has been pretty much mentioned.
All right, we have an Amber Alert. Clear your phones. Clear your phones. Hi. All right, Emily. Favorite Thanksgiving food?
Well, first of all, I did not realize that deviled eggs were a Thanksgiving food. That is news to me. I don't know if that's a Southern thing, but it is not a Pennsylvania thing, so that's fun to know. My personal favorite is a little bit specific to my family. My dad has this like recipe for baked mac and cheese that has been passed down across all the grandparents and uncles and things, and so it gets made for every Thanksgiving and every Christmas and occasionally Easter if we're lucky. But it is always my go-to on the Thanksgiving table.
Can I include my homemade chocolate pie as my new pick?
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, Cecil's homemade chocolate pie is top tier.
I mean, it's not necessarily relative to just Thanksgiving, but I typically make them every Thanksgiving for all of y'all.
Well,
honey baked ham, Gerard. Honey baked ham.
It's my show and I can't even talk. That's the first. I'm gonna go dessert because y'all are just Cecil ended up with chocolate. Dude, a pumpkin pie with Cool Whip or whipped cream, preferably Cool Whip. I'm there all day. Give me a pie and let me be. Pumpkin pie for me, and then probably a close second would be. No one mentioned it to me. There's something about I like me a good green bean casserole. I can handle that too. But I'm in for all of it. I'll be smoking the turkey, so no Cecil. I don't know if you'll be able to come down. We'll see how we're tinkering around with a new recipe. So we'll see how that goes. Details to come. I'm reading up of what I want to do with the smoked turkey. If you're watching this and you have some ideas, if you've smoked turkeys in the past, I've only done it once. So drop me a tweet at Kreager, Kreager, and hit me up there and maybe give me some suggestions. I've done it once. It turned out okay, but I want to make it even better. So now that we made you hungry, let's move on to the quarterfinals of Division I, the semifinals in Division II. Of course, you've been watching the Bootleg presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Folks, thanks for joining us. Hope to bring everyone back next week. Everyone stay safe. Hey, rumor has it that this is the time of year where deer like to run a lot. Maybe stay away from those. I've heard, rumor has it at least, that the deer are running. So maybe you want to watch out for deer as you're traveling to football games, especially if you happen to be on 840 towards Summit. That's just what I've heard. That's the rumor. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for joining us. You've been watching the Bootleg presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. We'll see you next week.